So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second?
Oh, sorry.
So moved by Nolte, seconded by Metz. So Laura started to ask a question in closed session that I thought was an open session question, so can I answer that question? I'll answer that
Yes.
question for you now.
Yeah.
So Laura asked why I raised the question of whether the police millage is an allowable, whether code enforcement is an allowable use of the police millage. And it was, the reason I raised the question is because how can I say this? General fund dollars are the most valuable public dollars. I mean, that's the because they're the least restricted. So the more restricted the dollars are, the kind of public policy theory is the less valuable the dollar is in a sense. And since the police millage is more restricted than a general fund, if there are allowable expenses, it's always good to use your restricted funds. So it's best practice to use the restricted funds first and leave the unrestricted funds available for the wider variety of purposes that are going to call for those general funds. I don't know if I explained that very well.
And you said there's surplus in that.
Yes,
Yeah,
there's
right.
surplus. So there's a surplus in the police fund, and I thought, well, maybe there are general fund expenses that would be appropriate for a more restricted fund. Any other questions on the code enforcement? I just wanted to say I will look into the benchmark and just validate those numbers. So thank you to the public that is carefully reading this. So let's go on to then, we'll conclude that and we'll move on to the first action item, which is amendments to the zoning ordinance. Marty took off, I guess. So I'm going to turn to page 11. These are two minor amendments that should not be very controversial. It's part of this process that we're going through of just cleaning up the zoning ordinance and clearing up any confusion or inconsistencies. So the first one is, it's relates to the maximum height requirement for sheds. I'm stumbling a little bit. Gretchen, can you help me?
Well, I wasn't at the meeting where the public hearing was held, but this is for the accessory buildings. It's, I don't know if Alicia, you were probably at that meeting, but basically the maximum height requirement of 8.5 feet was problematic, so it was determined that a height of 200 square foot sheds results in heights ranging from 8'10" to 10'4", and so they changed the language, and that's what's in the motion.
Yeah, and I think that these shed heights of 8'10" and 10'4" are off the shelf, like Home Depot kinds of sheds that you can purchase anywhere. And so people were having to come to get variances or having to get permits for just off the shelf items.
Yeah, I remember this discussion actually when I was on the planning commission.
Board, yeah, on the planning commission. So are there any questions about that? And I apologize for not being more prepared to speak to it. So I think the planning commission found that the text was compatible with the goals and policies of the master plan, and it consistent with state and federal law. So can I
ask one question?
Yeah.
Does anybody know on your zoning, is the front yard on a lake, the lake side or the road side? Which side are you guys considering front on lakes?
We don't know.
It's a great question.
Because,
It would be defined in your ordinance as to what a front yard is, so if you looked in the ordinance,
What does that pertain to this, Karen?
well, it does, because it has setbacks on it on page 14 and 15.
Those are the current ordinance, so the only changes on 16.
Oh, the only changes on 16.
The only changes
Okay.
on.
Yeah. So the language of the motion is on page 13, based on the recommendation by the planning commission, the information
It's just
provided by
the height.
staff during the public hearing.
10 foot on the lakeside's high, though. It's okay.
So I move it.
I'll ask later.
I remove the amendment to the zoning ordinance, section 16.11. Is that
As specified on page 13 of the package. Okay, so moved by
I'll
Driscoll
second it.
and seconded by Sanders. Is there any more discussion about it? Gretchen, and it was seconded by Laura. Sarah, do I do a roll call vote for this, remind me, or can I just,
Just do a roll call for ordinance,
okay,
which is what, I mean, it says resolution in your packet, but what you're really doing is an ordinance.
okay. It's Karen Nolte,
Yes.
Lonnie Scott,
Yes.
Mayor Smets.
Yes.
Michelle Stambalallis.
Yes.
Gretchen Driscoll. Laura Sanders.
Yes.
Myself, Karen Sickinga, yes. So that concludes that matter. And then the next one is about pools and hot tubs, and that one is basically, instead of specifying requirements within our own zoning ordinance, it's making reference to external authorities, so that as those external, as those external authorities update their safety standards, our zoning ordinance automatically updates, which is, I think, a best practice. So it's fundamentally, it's not really changing really changing our requirements, it's just externalizing the requirements to another authority. So can I get a motion for that?
So moved?
And that's on page 19 of the package. The motion is specified, and can I get a second? Moved by Metz. Can I get a second?
second?
I can,
So seconded by Sanders, and any discussion about that? Okay, then I'll go the other way. Laura Sanders,
yes.
Gretchen Driscoll.
Yes.
Michelle Stambalallis.
Yes.
Mayor Smets.
Yes.
Lonnie Scott.
Yes.
Karen Nolte.
Yes.
And myself, Karen Sickinga, yes, so it's approved. Okay, so,
Just really quick, so the front yard does not include the lakeside.
It's roadside.
What's that? It's just roadside.
It's roadside is front. Okay.
Any roadside, so it's a part of that small roads. Roadside, but not the lake, has nothing to do with the lake.
Okay, thank you.
so next up is I would like to enter into a second agreement with the Washtenaw County Road Commission. We originally entered into an agreement with them we budgeted $500,000 for road repair. We entered into an agreement with them that was $470,000 of our expense. And then they actually came in under budget, so they only expended $400,000 to do the work in question. I think some of that is because they were able to capitalize on some of that safety project funding to do a little bit of the work in that area. So now we're proposing $100,000 in expenses for this fiscal year, which will include completing Quigley Road, and then we had deferred some canopy work on Wiley Road back in 2022 when we first did this. And as you guys know from past meetings, it's a best practice to do the canopy work in the fall if possible, not in the spring. If we put that off till next year, then they'll do that canopy work in the spring, and that increases the risk of oak wilt. So it both lowers the cost, and it's a best practice for tree work. And at the back of this, page 22 is the schedule, the complete schedule, the updated schedule. So first, can I get a motion to authorize the supervisor to sign a second agreement with the road commission?
So moved.
And can I get a second?
Second.
So moved by Driscoll, seconded by Nolte. Any questions or discussion?
Yes, sorry. Will there be any canopy work over Madden Road scheduled?
Next year.
Madden, that's next year's project, and I don't have the details about next
Okay.
year's project right now. So that's not included in this proposed contract.
But if they're taking care of the trees, are we looking out for the best? I get it, we're looking for the benefit of maintaining the structure integrity of the road, but also the trees are quite important too. So they have been maintaining these roads, or at least our rural roads, Madden and Quigley, actually very well, but there are canopies over. So it's nice when they don't just chop them all, but I get, that's where the potholes come from. But all in all, what are they planning to do on Wiley? Are they gonna try and eliminate the canopy?
I mean, I didn't dig into the details, but they're gonna do, what their general practice is they don't want the road shaded all day. They want the sun to be able to shine down upon the road. But they will not, so what they do is, if they feel that their preference is not to remove trees. But if they deem the tree to be a safety hazard, then they'll take it down. But for this Wiley Road project, there's no tree removal, it's only trimming back the branches that are overhanging the road. And what they typically do is make the branches available to the contiguous homeowners if they want them chipped or whatever. They do provide pretty good information to the homeowners as well. And there's no trees proposed to be removed for this year.
Okay.
But they do trim them back pretty much. I mean, it is a down, it does affect the look of, it affects the
The rural roads, the
shadiness,
character, the
yeah.
beauty, I get it.
Yeah.
That was my question, but they've done a really nice job where light is filtrating through. So I didn't know if you had the whole scope of if they were gonna completely open up.
All of Wiley Road, yeah. So it's trimming back branches and no trees.
Okay. That's it for me.
Other questions? Okay, then, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, then we will move on to the Metro Parks Pass program. So we had a little bit of discussion in closed session about a legal opinion about the allowability of the Parks Pass program, and across from Treasurer Matz to not use the word free in reference to the Parks Pass program, but instead make it clear that this is at township taxpayer expense.
Thank you.
Any other discussion about this item?
Is this something, it is an action item? Does it have to be voted on today? I will say, going to the planning commission's past or yesterday's meeting, having workshops, I really deem important. So we have this conversation before we have an action item in front of us. So is this something that has to be approved today? Or would we be able to have a conversation as a board in front of residents that whom would like to attend?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I usually do try to do the three, a report 1 month, and then a discussion item, and then an action item the next month. But last month, we approved this in November, and then executed it very quickly. So I didn't start the process as soon as I probably should have. I mean, so if we were gonna be on last year's schedule, we could report this month, discuss next month, and then approve in November. But this year, we would like to begin November 1st, which is when that's when the park passes go on sale, and just run the program for 2 months, which would require us, we would like to do advance notice, like a postcard or something like that. So I thought, well, in the ideal world, it would be great to have a little bit more time, but we never have to approve anything, So it's kind of, it would be nice to have the 3.5 months to execute it if we're gonna do that.
if I may, yeah, we'd like to run it November, December, because that's when the passes are less expensive and we save dollars. And to get it out to the public ASAP. The other thing is, we do have a meeting coming up. You asked questions about handling it. We are meeting with the Metro Park. Karen and I have a meeting set next week with the Metro Park to discuss that, to come up with a way so it's not as labor-intensive for Dexter Township, and to handle it in an easier, more effective manner.
I was just curious if postage was included in this expenditure, the total.
We hope not to mail.
Yeah.
You're hoping not to mail this time? Okay.
Because that's my biggest thing too, is
Mhm.
we did get quite a few phone calls into the office. They didn't receive it, what's
Mhm.
going on? And then multiple homeowners wanted one, or residents in the same home wanted one, so to know how they are gonna be, deployed would be really nice before we vote on something without a plan. That's why the tax bill would be the smartest way to go.
Well, can I give a conceptual of what we talked about?
I don't think we should.
I don't
No.
think we're ready for that.
Yeah.
The tax bill.
And I
would-
say that because,
Yeah.
if the Metro Parks just, we
Yeah.
have ideas that I have ideas that would require partnership from a fuller partnership from the Metro Parks, but we haven't really vetted those ideas with them yet. So I'm not comfortable
Well, then maybe
sharing them in
we-
a public meeting.
Well, should we vet those before we decide on a $75,000 expenditure then?
Well, I mean, it's a question, it's a good question. The $75,000 would be, that's the maximum cost based on the average cost. So if we had 100% uptake based on the average per, we.
It's worst
we-
case scenario.
And it's a fully loaded cost, it includes postage and everything else, right? So the $75,000 is the worst case.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
I just want to be clear too, that taxpayers do fund the Metro Park here in
Yeah.
our township,
Right.
because it was presented before that, because we don't maintain a park, we don't put money towards a park, we in fact do that. So taxpayers are, by millage, paying over $100,000 a year to maintain the Metro Park on top of this, which is also taxpayer funded. I just want to make sure that everybody's very clear about that.
Lonnie?
It's not free.
I think it's a large program, and if we aren't quite sure how we're going to handle that distribution, and you all have a meeting next week, I would also agree that I would prefer
To
to
defer.
wait and potentially schedule a work session, like Michelle suggested, that we focus only on this, and can have those discussions and figure out the pieces. I will say, I think the program's great. I think I would love for us to figure out the way to continue it, but I agree that if we don't have all the information today, I don't feel comfortable voting to approve it without knowing exactly how we're going to administer it.
Yeah, and I just want to make it clear, I'm not in favor of the
Right.
park pass.
Right.
I'm very much into the environment. So, but we owe it to our residents that actually are paying for this pass to know how to receive it, how it's coming to them, and we just need to have a plan in play and and be able to stick to our budget as well.
Okay, so is it the consensus of the board to defer this till next month after we meet with the Metro Parks? Or we could potentially do a special meeting if that seems necessary. I don't think we would need a special meeting, honestly, because,
If anything, if we want to take advantage of the discount tickets, rather than running it 60 days, 45, 30 days, and it's done.
well, we can talk about
Yeah,
that next
I
month.
mean,
but
that's all things that can
But,
be
if
worked out,
if
but-
we approve this on October 18th, and
Mhm.
we want to make it available November 1st, I think
We
that
could
gives us
roll
enough.
it. Yeah,
enough
we
time.
could probably roll it that fast with what we're.
We did last year,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I'll move this. So this will be just a discussion item this month, and we'll make it an action item next month.
But could we schedule a workshop? No?
Well, I'm not sure we
Or-
even need a
You
workshop.
think we'll need one?
Because the point of, the reason to do a workshop would be to make a decision sooner, right? Or why would we be workshopping?
Even to take a half an hour to talk about the program, the pros and cons, how it's going to be deployed, how much they are, so, just so we're all on the same page.
But, I mean,
I
could that
mean,
be, I'm just asking if that could
just-
be during the regular meeting?
When is our next meeting?
Our next meeting, and the discount will still be there, correct?
Yeah.
The
Trustee
discount
Nolte?
runs, well, they haven't announced it yet, but historically, it's November and December
Can we
only.
have a
it'll be the
presentation on
15th.
it at our next meeting?
Yeah.
At our next
Mhm.
board meeting, and make sure the
October
public
15th.
knows?
15th.
Yeah,
Let's do a
October 15th.
presentation on the 15th.
Yeah, let's do a presentation on the 15th, and
Yeah.
then if we feel like we need a special meeting, we can do it after the 15th, like on the 20,
Yeah.
following week or something, or if we feel like that's sufficient information, we can.
Mhm.
I like that. It's nice that it's early, early in the month, October. Okay, so
Do we
then.
need, do we need an official, like, motion to table? Or we're just, since there's no motion to consider, we just move on?
Yeah, if there's no motion, then there's just no action on it.
All right,
You don't need an official motion to table it, you can just put it back on the agenda.
okay. Okay, so then the next motion is the acceptance of financial transactions. Can I get a motion to accept the financial transactions, page 27 on in the packet?
So moved.
And can I get a second?
Second.
So moved by Scott, seconded by Metz. Any discussion? Any questions? Okay, well, hearing none then. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? None. So hearing none, then this just moves us on to the Dexter Township Committee reports. Any comments or questions on any of these reports? And I do want to say, I really appreciate the reports that came in this month. They were timely, got more reports than usual, so that was great. Thank you, Maris. Thanks, Michelle, Mark, Gary.
Foss.
And Foss, and yeah.
I was a
so
little
great.
late getting you my stuff, but I wanted to wait till the last day of tax collection to be able to run my.
Yeah, that was,
delinquent.
I love that report. Thank
Oh,
you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And I loved Michelle's report too on the election, so I was
Yeah.
really happy to see that.
Can I ask a question on the ITC transition line upgrade?
Yep.
I have a feeling 7 AM to 7 PM is a long time, every 6 days a week for a helicopter to be flying over the residents' houses. For 6 weeks, 6 weeks.
I mean-
If that was your house, wouldn't you be going bonkers?
Well, I think that's our zone, that is our ordinance right now, so
It's
that's
7 to 7?
on Monday through Saturday. So if we think that's a bad idea, then we probably have to add that to the list of ordinances to look at.
I thought I read somewhere in there that we could establish different hours.
I can go back and I can go back to OHM and ask them that. They were pushing back on wanting to do Sunday, and I said
I
no. Because it's December, and I don't think people are gonna wanna listen to helicopters in December,
And will they
horses don't
not
wanna
do it
hear
during the holidays? I mean, that's over the Christmas holiday. Is
Okay,
there
I'll
a,
go back and
is there a,
I will go back and see if we can restrict it even further. If,
It's
is
less
that,
or
is
no
that a
holidays.
general sense on the board?
Restrict
No
as
work
much
on
as
oh,
it.
no work on Sunday or how, so they're off Christmas Day?
Yeah.
I'm just worried about our animals too, our horses.
Yeah.
That's just a lot.
Yep. I saw the helicopters in Webster Township. I wondered if they were doing Webster Township recently, because I saw some pretty low-flying helicopters over there. Any other questions about any of the reports? Okay, then, second call for public comment on non-agenda items.
Hello there, my name is Martin.
Marty, bring the microphone,
Right, microphone up,
and on this side, look for the button,
green light's on.
green light is on, very
Good to go?
good, thank you.
All right, no problem. Martin Rulig, 11546 Island Lake Road. Just here to introduce myself to everybody. I'm running for township supervisor. A lot of people have heard my name. This is the face go along with it. So a lot of people know my wife because of our business and stuff, so this is me. Just introduce myself to everybody and see how this process works. So I'm here for every day, so for every time. So, okay, thank you, and got any questions, you talk to me? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Marty.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you. Any other members of the public wish to speak? Okay, then, other issues, comments, and concerns of board members or staff? I'll start over here with you, Laura.
No.
Yours?
No.
Lonnie? I have a few, actually. Do you have any, Karen?
Concerns?
No.
No.
Yeah. So here, this is a funny one, but I did want to point out that this is National Septic Week, and because there are so many septic tanks in Dexter Township, at the Watershed Council, so if you look at the Watershed Council report, they're putting out some education this week, and I encourage everybody that has a septic system, including myself, to look at that, and because septic systems are a big threat to the watershed, so it's really important to keep yours maintained, and there's good information being produced this week by Eagle and by the Watershed Council about septic systems.
Yeah, and also, we're the only state in the country that doesn't have inspection requirement for our septic system, and it's estimated that approximately 20% of septic fields are failing and polluting our waters, and we have over 1 million septic systems in our state. Therefore, we have E. coli in our water, which is not fun. So
Yikes.
just inspect.
Yep, so Watershed Council's website and Eagle also both doing education this week on how to make sure your
And pump.
septic system is not contributing to this problem. Next thing, many people might be aware that Consumers Energy is doing some work on its substation on North Territorial, backing up onto Toma, and there's been a lot of back and forth with the neighbors because they were initially proposing a fence that is higher than our zoning ordinance provides for, and I just wanted everyone to know that we're negotiating actively with Consumers to come up with a solution that meets the state and federal safety and security guidelines for utility substations, but also doesn't require the neighbors of the substation to be looking at this kind of ugly, I'll just say ugly, transformer station. And so it's moving a little bit slowly because they are this regulated monopoly and they are subject to these federal and state laws, but we want to use all the power that we have to ensure that we preserve our rural character here, and especially for those neighbors. And that was it. The last thing was just to thank you for the committee reports this month, which were just great.
I forgot one thing,
Okay, go ahead,
if I
Karen.
may. Since this month, we had a meeting on our film project, and I just wanted to let everybody know, there's a Senate Bill 228 that Senator Shank put forth and encouraged everybody to send a note in support of that. It goes to Senator McCann, State Senator McCann right now. And it would give local authority the ability to regulate whether plastic bags, grocery bags are used in their community or not. It's repealing PA 389 and give more local control. So since it's an issue, we should encourage everybody to do that.
Okay.
Not that
If
we
there
have
are no
commercial.
other matters, then Janice, did you have anything? Then if there are no other matters, then our business is concluded and the meeting is adjourned.
Also with the understanding that the plastic bag is just a fraction of the issue.
Taylor. Oh, jeez. That's a start.